Welcome, everybody, to the Monthly Movie Dispatch, the show where we get together every month and we talk about movies we've seen, what we recommend, and what to avoid. What separates us from the other 100,000 other movie-related shows is that we're longtime high school friends. We've been discussing movies for like 15 years. We love talking film, and we'd be doing it even if no one was listening. So I'm Nick Moffat. I'm here today with Brandon Bolby.
How's it going?
Derek Deal.
Hello.
And Sean Bolby.
Hi.
So what's happening, guys? How you doing? I'm just pumped. I'm excited to talk about movies. I miss you guys. I miss the world. I miss going to the movies, but I'm excited to talk about the movies today with you guys.
I think it's pretty stacked today. For sure.
Yeah. We have a lot to talk about today, and this episode we are continuing our trend of like quarantine time, where we're going to be going over each of us last month. Each of us picked a movie and forced everyone to watch it. So we have 4 movies today. Each was a pick by someone else, and we all watched those movies. And we're going to do that different next month. Like at the end of the show, I'll talk about how we're doing next month a little bit different, but we're going to try to get back into more 2020 movies. Even though movies aren't really coming out yet in theaters, we're kind of evaluating where we're at, and we're thinking that there are enough 2020 movies to go forward and bring back the 2020 thing.
Right.
Either way, I feel like we should just jump right into that. 2020 recommendations. I just have to say off the bat, I feel like the biggest movie that came out this month in July was the new Andy Samberg movie, Palm Springs. Derek, do you want to sit at the table with Palm Springs a little bit?
Sure. Do you want me to read a synopsis? Let's see.
Give us a synopsis.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right. Palm Springs is the shortest. Stuck in a time loop, 2 wedding guests develop a budding romance while living the same day over and over again.
So I mean, it's
adding to the Groundhog Day genre of films.
Right.
Subgenre.
This is basically Groundhog Day, but at a wedding in Palm Springs, and with Andy Samberg instead of Bill Murray, but also he's there with someone else. And,
like what I think kind of makes the movie work really well is that it doesn't like this is kind of becoming its own like subgenre, because there's a handful of movies that take this, but it's like Groundhog. I don't know if there's other ones before Groundhog Day, but I think Groundhog Day is kind of like the staple of like, this is kind of like where the bar is. And so when someone comes out with a time loop movie, it's hard not to compare it to Groundhog Day.
It's like the switching bodies, like Parent Trap, like subgenre. Like there's
Freaky
Friday. There's only a few, and they have to be compared to each other.
Right. But this one is really smart in that it uses like a lot of fun concepts in that time loop that we haven't seen before. Like, I mean, in the description there, like he accidentally pulls somebody else into the time loop, and that's what the movie's kind of about, is her like unwillingly being trapped in this time loop with him, and right.
And I mean, I'm kind of hesitant to give too much away because Sean, you haven't seen this yet, right?
Yeah. I misunderstood the assignment,
Sean.
And
Sean.
I was actually kind of planning on having talking about Palm Springs for next month, but
it's like high school all over again.
But yeah, I unfortunately did not see it yet.
Well, yeah,
I've been out a lot.
We can stay away from spoilers, but in all, I think it's really funny. It's really smart. And yeah, like I love like Edge of Tomorrow is another time loop movie, and like still even between like Groundhog Day and Edge of Tomorrow, I think this movie consistently all the time was finding new ways to keep the genre like fresh, like just doing new things we haven't seen them do in something that seems like it would be so easy to just rehash, old stuff. So that's what I really, really liked about it.
I thought it was the ideal quarantine movie. Sorry if you guys said this already. I missed you guys for a little bit there, but I thought this movie like really captured. In some ways, it was like representative of the time that every day is exactly the same, and I know a lot of people went through that or are still going through that with the coronavirus, and it just felt very, very true to our time with every day being the same. But I also thought this movie was like super funny. And, I kind of felt like, the moral of it was like to enjoy who you're spending your time with during the quarantine. And also touch on the like, bettering yourself kind of aspect of every day being the same, where if you put work into something every day, you will get better at that thing over time. Mm-hmm. And I thought this movie was just so great. I just thought it was so funny. I watched it by myself, and then a couple days later, I was like, Shen, you got to watch this movie. And we watched it together. Like, it's one of those movies where it has tremendous rewatch value. Like, I saw all these little details that I didn't notice the first time. Like, the continuity is totally on point in this movie. And I just thought it was so great. There were so many little things that were just so funny. I'm hesitant to say too much because I really think everyone should watch it. And like Sean, I think you haven't seen it, but it's really great. The only thing is it's on Hulu, and I don't think you can get it anywhere else. I'm really hoping it comes out in physical media someday. Just so I would love to have it on DVD or Blu-ray. The rewatchability kind of reminds me of Andy Samberg's other movie, Pop Star. I feel like you could just like.
I watched Pops, like literally I finished this movie. Like I was just hanging out with Phoenix all night one night, and I watched this movie, and then immediately I watched Pop Star right after for the first time.
Oh, nice.
A double feature.
Nick, you were saying like how rewatchable this movie is. Like, I think that is really kind of the strongest aspect of this film. It's like such a completely delightful breeze of a film. Like, it is just a really fun, easy watch. And it takes a lot of talent to put that together. And I think that was just like a really awesome aspect of this film. You can also, like you said, in its rewatchability with all the details, like you can tell they like tried so hard to put in all these little like ideas of creativity in the script of how things would actually play out in this like kind of sci-fi concept. And it was great to see how smart they were with those little details. And then just the like one thing that really blew my mind, that they put this in the film, and it was kind of the most like abstract experimental part that really, made really artistic like part of the film was the scene with the dinosaurs. It really reminded me of like the power of the scene in like the Last of Us video game with the giraffes at the zoo. I don't know if you remember that, Derek, but it's just like this awe-inspiring, gorgeous moment.
Gosh, like, that's like the one scene. That's one of those scenes that's like I would hesitate to talk about that scene because it's so like it's kind of special and unique. I would definitely kind of spoiled that for Sean, don't you think?
I thought about that for a second, but then it doesn't have to do with anything.
There's no context to explain it unless you've seen it.
And there's no context in the film either. Like, it doesn't actually spoil anything except for the fact that it's a scene in the film. Yeah. But yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said it. But anyways, that is a really interesting scene, and it's really beautiful when it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave this movie 4 stars when I first watched it, and then I bumped it up to 4.5 after rewatching it because I just the details really came out, the texture of the film and just how thought out everything was. And it's like something special watching it the first time and not really knowing what's going on, and then being in on it the second time and seeing like what's happening at the beginning. It's just it's just a really great movie, and I've been recommending to everybody. So I just wanted to start off the show with Palm Springs because how special that movie is.
Yeah.
We do have a lot to talk about today, so let's just jump right into Brandon's movie. Brandon, your pick was Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Classic.
Yeah.
Do you want to set the table for that
synopsis is IMDb summarize it as a bitter, aging couple With the help of alcohol, use their young house guests to fuel anguish and emotional pain between each other over the course of a distressing night. I saw this film after I saw a Broadway revival of it in like 2013 or something. And I heard that the film was an outstanding, real adaptation of what I saw on stage, which blew me away. So I was super excited to see it. And like, you kind of can't ask for any better of an adaptation than this. It is pretty shocking how incredible all the performances in the remaking of this play actually is. So I want to say like this is really like the play of all plays, like in the fact that it's like this simple set. It takes place mostly all in real time. There's no real time jumps. The characters are like monologuing to the point of almost like non-realism, which you see all the time on stage. Someone's constantly pouring someone a drink just to help the staging and blocking of the set so it doesn't get boring. Like you see that in so many other plays, and it's the same with Virginia Woolf throughout the whole thing. People are screaming at each other for so long, you wonder why they don't just like leave the scene. These are all like staples of the stage, but like this play, this movie, like does it so well, so beyond well. And back in the early 60s, it's a good watch. A couple things like I really loved on this rewatch, because it's the only second time I've seen it now, is like these amazing details that are like sprinkled throughout. One thing is her like throwing the clothes under the bed as she's like trying to like spastically clean up the bedroom. Like I've never seen anyone do that, but it's just like it's such a great character touch when she's like hiding the clothes under the bed, or putting the plate in the dresser just because she like couldn't give a shit, but she also still wants to clean up. The performances are incredible, and everyone talks about the two leads. But one that stood out to me is the younger wife. I think she is like kind of the unsung hero of this cast here. But when I looked it up, Sandy Dennis, yeah, like Honey. She blew me away with how great she was at just acting. Absolutely plastered the whole second half of this movie. But then I looked up on IMDb, and she actually won Best Supporting Actress. So that's really good.
Oh, wow.
So her and Elizabeth Taylor won the other lead, and then the two guys actually were just nominated but didn't win. So I thought that was pretty cool that she got nominated. Yeah, whole cast got nominated, but I thought that was really cool. Sandy Dennis got won as well.
I'm just looking at the IMDb. The entire cast is those four people, and then Roadhouse waitress, Roadhouse manager.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, true. It's got some really great,
almost the entire cast.
It's got some really great like lighting shots and camera movements that just like Dutch tilts and quick like dollies into people's faces, and it's like really well crafted in that way. These long takes, like especially the final like shot of them like sitting next to each other and like slowly going into her crying face as she's sobbing, and like it's really beautiful stuff. And yeah, it's a brilliant film. I think I'm curious on your guys' first watch, because I also saw this on stage before I saw the movie, so I knew kind of what it was building up to. I'd like to hear kind of when you guys had a realization of what the twist kind of was, or the final revelation. Did you have like big suspicions earlier on, or at some point each of you can answer that, but just curious as like how that crept up throughout the movie, or if it didn't land until like really the final moment. But yeah, Nick, what'd you think?
Man, this movie was it caught me by surprise, for real. You hear about these movies sometimes, and you wonder like how great could they be sometimes. And this was on my radar because it is on the AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies list. And I've been slowly working my way through that. I'm at 92 right now. So I only have 8 left before I get 100% on it. And so, I've been slowly working through it. And sometimes you get to these movies and they kind of feel like homework movies. And for whatever reason, I was imagining this being a homework movie where I was like, how great is this going to be? It's going to be probably a drag, whatever, and then I kind of went through a bit of sleeping very poorly this last month, and there was one night where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to turn on Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and maybe it'll make me tired and I'll go to sleep. And I turned it on I probably turned it on at 2 a.m. and I got so sucked in. I was so enthralled by everything that was happening that I just watched the whole thing. I was up till 4 o'clock watching it, and then I think I just stayed up. I think that was just like my day. And it was powerful, man. Like everyone talks about the performances. It was, holy moly, they were just running wild. And yeah, I mean, I have your question stuck in my head right now about when did I notice, and I probably didn't put the pieces together until it actually went down, until it actually got revealed. Maybe a little bit earlier, like when they're outside talking, and he like quote unquote like got the telegram, like it was like, wait, what? Like, honestly, again, like it was the middle of the night, and I like I said, I was sucked in, I was enthralled, but still, like I was like, wait, did I miss something? Like I was like, I don't remember them getting a telegram, and then it was like, oh, okay, like there's something weird going on. Like there's certainly something weird going on, and it's like I can't help but like feel so like bad for these people. Like the way they crafted their relationship was, to me, like it seemed very like real in a lot of ways. Like it was a perfect example of like a toxic codependent relationship where these people are alcoholics and they basically hate each other, but they also are like so interconnected that they like, I don't think they'll ever leave each other.
Yeah.
They're just, they're
twisted,
bound.
loving way as well. Yeah.
And I mean, it didn't feel like there was a lot of love there, but like maybe it's just like so deep and but yeah, I was blown away. I really enjoyed this movie. It was very powerful.
I just wanted to say, Nick, it kind of reminded me of like Phantom Thread, twisted love story type ending, kind of codependency.
Totally. Yeah. Were they like? I feel like Phantom Thread was a little more romantic.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, I mean, I think the love was like clearly there with Phantom Thread, but like, maybe Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is like 20 years later when they've been codependent for like years, and it's it's like they're stuck. But yeah, that's a good comparison. I see that for sure. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, this movie was crazy. I think I kind of had a similar experience as you, Nick. Like, it totally took me by surprise. Like, hearing that it was like a play that was adapted into a movie, I was definitely also really skeptical. And I was like looking, I was like, oh my God, it's over 2 hours long. Jesus. But yeah, it felt like an Aaron Sorkin movie. Like the dialogue is so sharp and like witty, and like the comedy was so interesting, and like when funny things would happen is like in ways I haven't really seen happen before. Because the movie's so much dialogue, it's like the comedy was like just in their interactions and how like chopped up their conversations were, and like how they'd be jumping back and forth between like the husband, the older man. I'm not sure any of their names, like in character names, but there's like a part early on where he's talking to the younger man. And he's like he keeps, they're basically having two conversations at like the speed of light at the same time. and he keeps like asking him a question in one conversation, and then his next sentence is like back in the other conversation, and the young guy's like trying to keep up with him, like what he's like talking about, what the question actually is. And
then the younger guy acknowledges how he's fucking with him.
Right. Yeah.
And then that's when he becomes proud of him for being able to keep up with.
Yeah.
Knowing that he's being fucked with. It was like really, really cool.
Yeah. But that's part of what's so unsuspecting about the movie, because they kind of set up these characters within the first like 10 minutes and they feel fairly traditional. But once the couple comes over and this game kind of begins, all of a sudden, like, you're kind of just whisked into this completely different, like, you did not expect these characters that they just set up to act the way they are and behave the way they do. Because it's also just so weird. Like, I haven't seen those kind of characters really done before in this way. And that was just really, that's what really keeps you like just invested the whole time, is just how like unique, like this, it never takes an expected path throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and the characters just keep going further and further.
Yeah.
Just egging each other on and pushing each other further, and like seeing if like anyone can keep up with how twisted they are.
Right. They literally think at one point he's about to blow somebody's head off, but it's also just a joke.
God.
Like,
it's actually what ends up diffusing the situation for the moment and bringing everyone back for another like 5 minutes until it explodes again.
It's
I thought for sure that person's head was blowing up. I thought this movie was going to take the
me
craziest
too.
twist. I was like, oh no.
And she
Hilarious.
screams.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And then I think for me, like, the twist in the end really didn't hit until like they revealed what was happening, because I kind of figured it was going in a way that maybe they had a child, but he's like either never going to talk to them ever again for some reason, or he did like die as like an older, he moved away.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I thought I had like figured out the movie at some point. Yeah. I thought like that they had a son, the son died, and they kept talking about how it's their son's birthday tomorrow and he's coming over for to see them for his birthday. And I kind of thought maybe they did have a son and it was his birthday tomorrow, but he like died. And so like this whole toxic, relationship that they have is like them coping with his death in really unhealthy ways. And like how he keeps saying, don't bring him up, keeps telling her not to bring him up or not to talk about him, and how he gets really upset when she does talk about him. And so, that's, I thought I had figured out the movie and then, until the end. And then it was like, it kind of was like, you brought up Phantom Thread. It was just like, oh yeah, that's twisted.
I'm kind of curious, like, how far this like thing of theirs goes, like past what we saw, because like I don't remember the lines that gave me this impression, but I almost had the impression that he pretends to be her son on that birthday. Did anyone else get that at all, or am I just crazy? No. I like almost that. I don't, because like the way she acted was like with her like breakdown after he says that he's dead seemed like there was even more of a physical connection in some way to what unless it's just completely just a hypothetical thing that she was so upset about. But
yeah, I mean, I'd be curious if you found that those pieces of dialogue, but I didn't get that.
Yeah, I thought that's part of why he is so against talking about it, is because there's also like another step of like embarrassment, maybe, or like something that he doesn't want anyone to know about because it's almost crosses the line into like a really weird territory,
I thought that he told her not to talk about it because like that's something they've done before. Like this isn't the first time they've gone down this rabbit hole of kind of this weird fantasy of them having a kid and like using this fake kid to get at each other. So that's what I got. Just that this is not the first time that they've done this.
Yeah.
See, so you don't think they like regularly pretend they have a kid? You think it's just in these social?
Oh yeah,
situations?
I do think they do.
I don't necessarily think he's the kid,
or like,
but
right.
They do regularly.
I think
pretend though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like in social situations, and like maybe even to like get at each other and playing this game. Like this isn't the first time they've played this twisted game before.
Right. But her reaction is definitely that because he is no longer gonna take part in that game, right? He's like shutting down that notion, even on like a Okay.
I think it was like forcing her to come back to the reality of their relationship and their war. Like him ending that game was forcing them to come to terms with their relationship and this twisted like reality that they live in.
Right.
And
because it's like being able to pretend like probably helps her like kind of deal with things. Like she doesn't have, it's like easier to pretend that they have a kid than it is to face the fact that they're,
or it's just, I don't know. I thought it was just like, I don't even know if it's facing the fact of anything. I think it was just like they play this game where they I don't know, make this shit up to like get at each other, and because I don't know, it's just like this really toxic, twisted relationship that they have.
Yeah. I don't know, Shauna, you're kind of confusing me a little bit. I feel like they made up the kid to because they couldn't have kids themselves, so they were the kid was like a connection of like having love in their life. They like pretended that they had this kid, and I feel like that's like I'm kind of with Derek. Like Derek said that, and I'm kind of like, I mean, there's a reason why they celebrate his birthday. I think they were probably really going to celebrate his birthday and have like a cake or something. I don't know, but like I felt like there was more of a game with like the other couple where they were like interrogating them, or maybe there would be swinging going on or something, and they were they're. That was kind of to me more of the game, but the kid I thought was just like their deep rooted like love somehow. You read that differently?
What do you mean like that was them? Because I also think there's a something to read into about how often people in toxic relationships think that bringing a kid into it is going to fix things, and they're I thought that's kind of what it was too. Like maybe them making up a kid helps with their twisted their messed up relationship.
Yeah,
somehow.
For sure.
Like it helps it feel more believable to them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
It's a crazy, complicated story.
Yeah,
there's a lot to dig in through these people. Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things where there's a reason why it's a classic. There's a lot that we could dig into and sort through the different motivations of the characters and really like question and evaluate why they are the way that they are. I mean, the performances and the writing give you all of that. There's a lot to sort through, but we have 3 other movies that we need to spend time on. So I do think we should move on
for sure.
But Brand, do you have any?
I did want to say one more thing, just to how crazy it is that this movie came out in or at least the play came out in 1962. I think this movie came out in 66, and it's just like coming out of the 1950s and like that classic Americana and like, the white picket fence, the perfect suburban American blissful household. And then like this movie comes out, and I could just imagine how shocking and subversive this, or the play came out first, but how crazy that would be for the
like
time.
A story and dialogue this advanced. I mean, this twisted, this like sexual. I mean, there's some like really modern concepts throughout this thing, and seeing that on stage in '62, people perform that.
Yeah.
Just that blows my mind.
Yeah.
Don't you think that on some way, like, you guys all watch Mad Men, right? Like,
yeah,
I feel
I
like
haven't seen it, but
I mean, I feel like these things were going on in the '60s. Like this was made because these things are very real things, and it's
right.
And
this is the start of that. Is all we're saying. Like, this had to have been just right.
Yeah,
there.
no, I think this is all very these kinds of things were happening. I don't know if anyone was like talking about it, and people were definitely not making movies.
This was the type of art that was starting to talk about it in the very beginning of the '60s and the late '50s, for sure.
Or at least not in the mainstream. There's probably some movies I've never heard of or I haven't seen yet that do that. But
I do think that there's like, I mean, I'm a big fan of Mad Men. I feel like Mad Men kind of like, I could pull specific parts of this and apply them to Mad Men a little bit. Like, I think Mad Men definitely like was kind of pulling from this a little bit, just with the toxic relationships during that time period. The Swimmer too,
even like Revolutionary Road.
Oh yeah,
is a similar thing.
Cool.
Yeah, good pick, Brandon. I think that might be my favorite movie you've picked so far.
Did you say that last time?
Drama.
Yeah, they're getting better.
I mean, I think it's definitely mine for sure, honestly. And I would actually say this is like top 1 or 2 or 3 like adapted from stage movies that I've seen. Like definitely top 3. For sure.
For sure.
Cool. Well, if Brandon, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, that's it. Let's go to Thief.
Cool. Well, Derek, let's move on to your movie. You picked the Michael Mann classic, Thief.
Yes.
I don't know if classic's the right word, but anyway, set the table for Thief.
Yeah, so the IMDb plot synopsis is: coming closer to his dream of leading a normal life, a professional safecracker agrees to do a job for the mafia, who has other plans for him. So it's one of those traditional like heist movie type things, where it's like the one last job kind of movie from like I feel like that's kind of just a staple of this genre of crime movies. But I picked this movie because it was Michael Mann's first movie, and he's been really influential for me in my taste of movies, since I started really getting into movies. So I thought it would be cool to go back and see this, where he started and what he did, and come to find out, this movie's been a really big inspiration for a lot of filmmakers that I really like, and a lot of movies that I really like. So I thought it would just be cool to see kind of like where that foundation, what it looks like and stuff. So what I thought about it, I think, like, I don't know, like I kind of have mixed feelings about the movie as a whole. I definitely liked it. I enjoyed it. I like that he kind of twisted like a noir type story into this kind of action, like kind of an action, but also like a new, I mean, when did this movie come out? I guess it's not new, but it has like a
91.
Let's see, 81.
81.
Oh, 81.
So it just kind of it felt like it had like a modern look to the noir, which there's like some really cool shots of like dark alleyways with like the rain coming down and like neon lights glimmering off the streets and stuff like that. It just visually has a cool look to it. But the story was like, I don't know. I mean, Nick's the noir guy. You probably know more about like how it fits, if it actually fits into that genre or not. But I really like disliked the main character of this movie pretty thoroughly throughout the movie. I was never really on his side, just because he's kind of an asshole and he doesn't really have any redeeming qualities. I don't know. He's just like mean to everybody. but he's good at his job, I guess. Cheats on his wife and stuff like that.
Quality is how smart he is. I
right.
guess.
Yeah, that's about it.
Right. And I don't know, maybe that's
he's tough.
I don't know if that's a common thing in noir movies. It's like
it is a common thing in like the thing with noir is that you often have these morally compromised characters, and sometimes that means that they're just straight up bad guys, and you're following them because they're doing something interesting, or they're great at their job, or they're doing something at night. Basically, but sometimes I think usually it's like a guy who is not necessarily a bad guy, but he's kind of on the borderline, and then he gets drawn in and he gets worse and worse. So I think it could go either way, but usually it's the latter that I just said. But this one, I think definitely, I'm with what Brandon said. Like, to me, the most interesting parts were like him, like doing his job and being like extremely good at it, and going deeper and deeper, like not deeper and deeper, but like just like the details of him figuring it out, and the process was like super interesting.
Yeah. I know, like the big safe, like the big like climax, like safe cracking scene, quote unquote. It was definitely something I've never seen even in like a movie after this before. And I can't even explain exactly what it is that they did, because it was like the way they filmed it, they show you what's happening, but I don't really know like they made some, like from what I got from it, they pretty much made like a giant like welder type thing, right?
Yeah, giant like torch
that requires
plasma,
like multiple people to handle because it's so massive, and
it probably just burns super hot, and it's able to quickly melt through, steel, and I don't know whatever else they. They had to get through.
But that was really cool. That was just like a unique, interesting way of with all the different heist and safe cracking movies they've seen. Like that's just a cool thing that I haven't seen before. So, but I think Cow kind of nailed it really good in his review on Letterboxd of it, which is this movie's very closely, Drive, one of my favorite movies, is very closely inspired from, like directly from this movie. And I think what I don't like about this movie is really exemplified in Drive, which is they found a way to make a morally corrupt like character feel good, like for the viewer, like you're on board with the bad things he's doing because he's not doing them for a selfish reason in Drive. In this, he's completely selfish the whole time. He's doing it for himself. So I don't know. That's the difference, and I think that's like the thing that I think could have changed how I perceive him. But that's obviously not what they were going for. But that's just kind of how I felt about it.
I agree with what you said totally. I actually talked to Cal about his review off screen. He let me borrow his Blu-ray. He had this on Criterion Collection, and he hadn't actually seen it before until he found out that you picked it. He listened to our last episode, and he was like, "Oh, perfect reason to watch Thief now." So then he watched it, and then he let me borrow, and then I watched it, and we talked about it at length. And for me, I had just watched another John Carpenter movie, and I kind of feel like Michael Mann and John Carpenter do similar things. And I think I really love both of them as filmmakers, but I think both of them like really make, like masculine movies, and they like really, they love like their manly men characters and putting them in tough situations. But unlike another filmmaker, Scorsese, like they both, Michael Mann and, John Carpenter, I feel like they both kind of lean toward like taking the like awesome route or the like badass route, or like at the end of the day, we're still doing something.
He always
cool.
makes crime look really cool.
Yeah. Whereas Scorsese is like, hey, we're making crime look cool, but we're also really going to show you how messed up it is. And I kind of felt like, you know, the whole thing with this guy, you know, I number one, I didn't really buy his relationship in this movie. It was like, it was kind of like, it was just felt really forced. I mean, it was forced. He like basically just like sprung it on her and she just agreed, I guess. But I
kind of liked it.
Like I liked the idea of it though. Like I liked the idea of him being like, hey, I want to have this great life. I want to have this life. Can you help me get there? And I liked that part of it. But then I felt like at the end of the day, like the movie decided to take like an awesome route instead of an emotional route, like to the ending.
Right.
Like instead of giving you like a emotional feeling about their relationship or about what he's doing, it was like he kind of fell backward to who he used to be and then just had like a pretty awesome ending. And it was pretty awesome. It was filmed really, really cool. But
you did kind of say it, Nick, but yeah, I did like how he was kind of just like, do you want to fake this with me? And she was just like, yeah, I'm down. Just like how honest they were both about how quick and let's just dive in. And if shit goes wrong, you can just walk away kind of thing. I just thought it was interesting, but, it's cool, Sean. You picked the Kubrick movie last month. From earlier decade, we get these very genre heist movies from very different time periods, and also both in the past. Like it's crazy. This was 1981. It just looks so modern and like clean. I really liked the movie. And it's cool seeing like inspiration in other films. Like the ending reminded me so much of You Were Never Really Here with Joaquin Phoenix and the like badass raid on the house and just like getting shit done at the end. So I think there's just like a lot of influence from like Michael Mann, even in a lot of today's
one
stuff.
thing I wanted to point out to you guys, I don't know if you guys noticed, like, so that whole ending scene where he's going through the house, it's just dead silent, like no music, not even footsteps, nothing. You can't hear anything. And then there's like this shot where he's like in maybe the foyer or something, and he's like looking around the corner, and there's this big grandfather clock right next to him, and I kind of saw that and I was expecting to hear like a ticking sound or something, but even the pendulum on the clock wasn't moving to keep it silent. I don't know if that was like intentional
like super
or
like pin drop intense.
Yeah.
I got pretty into that final scene. And also with the relationship, like I liked how like twisted and dark it got. Like to the point where they were like illegally buying an adopted child just from some random woman off the black market. Like that was super fucked up. Surprised the movie went there.
Yeah.
But I guess that's Michael Mann's style. Like he gets gritty with that kind of stuff. And you brought it up before me, Nick, but I had it written out but I want to highlight again. The mechanics of the heist was just so cool to see. They spent so much time showing that welder like busting through that metal, and then they had that like opposing super underexposed shot so you could actually see the orange of the melting metal without it being blown up, and they would cut between the two, and it was just like there was people doing that and they were just showing them do it, and the fire extinguisher
and even like
stuff.
the details like the details of them having on those like giant leather suits, and then the guy with the fire extinguisher, because obviously you'd need a fire extinguisher in there, and even before that when they're going through all the like phone lines and like trying to pick out which ones are the security lines or are going to notify authorities, and
just a lot of great
like
detail.
Using the like amp meter or something to detect which one, and like all of this is done visually, which I think he did like even in the opening heist scene. Like there's so much that he does visually. He throws you into these heist scenes like with no context and and no like dialogue or exposition to tell you what's going on and what they're even after. And like, there's just so much visual. There's so much put onto the visuals so much for the visuals to carry in those scenes, to make them work. And even like when he goes in the opening scene, when he like goes into this he breaks into the safe with that big industrial drill, magnetic drill thing. And then like he gets in there and he like starts opening drawers, and it's like these drawers full of like gold and diamond rings. And he just tosses it.
So aggressive.
Pulls out another drawer full of like, and just tosses it. Nope. That's not what I know. I'm here for one fucking thing. Anything that isn't that is a complete waste of time. So like these, $1,000, $10,000 rings or whatever he was pulling out, waste of time.
Totally.
He's going for that with this one specific, and like, that's the kind of detail that like, that really works in this movie. And then also like in Heat, which I just recently watched for the first time. He does very similar things. I also really love the way that he does dialogue, and the way that the actors perform in those dialogue scenes. Like, it's like he shoots everything in like these medium shots, but he never cuts away to anything that anyone is doing. Or even when like the waitress comes in to talk to them, or like, I'm thinking,
doesn't cut
I
to
first
the waitress,
noticed it in that
keeps
like
it on the actors.
Talking. Yeah, the restaurant scene when Frank and Jesse are the romantic set are talking in the restaurant, and the waitress comes over and she takes their order or whatever. Never cut to her. They're like doing all these things on the table, picking up things and like, moving things around. They never cut to anything that they're doing, but they like play within that frame really well, and they like fill the frame with their bodies and the way that they gesture, and I don't know, like things that they're doing with their hands come in and out of frame. I don't know. I just thought it was a really cool way to shoot those scenes, and it was just it was really, really slick is the way the word I would use for that kind of style.
Yeah, I didn't notice too much of that, but that's cool you picked up on it.
I just wanted to say, how cool is it seeing Willie Nelson?
Yeah,
that was fun.
Such a cool role.
Love Willie.
Which character?
That was cool.
The guy in the prison, the mentor father figure.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that did kind of maybe not redeem him, but kind of humanized him.
Right.
Is you did get the sense, like when he was trying to adopt the kid, like legitimately, he did mention that he had come from like maybe the foster system, and like how, you kind of got the sense that maybe that is what broke him. And
he actually had a motivation to do something good, or that's what he was trying to do, is to actually maybe change one kid's life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Derek, have you seen Manhunter?
I haven't.
It's the movie that Michael Mann made after this one, and it's the Red Dragon story. So it's in the Hannibal Lecter universe,
what?
But it's it's like so like there's Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal and Red Dragon with Anthony Hopkins, but then Michael Mann did Manhunter like years before Silence of the Lambs. And I felt like that captured the neon noir a little bit better than this did. Like just the neon part, I guess.
That's so cool to hear. I had no idea Michael Mann directed a Red Dragon adaptation.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's really good. I mean, it's less about Hannibal than it is, and more about the detective. So it's more of like the crime movie. And Hannibal's just like he kind of goes and talks to him a few times, but
as in with most Hannibal movies.
Yeah, but
I'm not Hannibal.
That's more like what the show's about. The Hannibal show is all about the detective.
But
Hannibal's on it.
Anyway, do you have Derek? Any closing thoughts? Anything else we?
No, I'm I'm glad we got to watch it. I'm glad that Sean's getting introduced to some Michael Mann stuff, and
where would you put this, like, with his other movies? Like, where would you, like?
I mean, it's probably my least favorite that I've seen of his so far. But that's not saying like a lot. Like, I really like everything I've seen that he's made. I haven't seen his like movies he's made in the last 10 years. I've heard they haven't been quite as good. Yeah, his new one was
supposed to be terrible. I'm sure you wouldn't have.
Yeah,
you would have liked that worse.
Yeah, but
like, yeah,
but you know, I'm thinking of like Collateral and Ollie and Heat and stuff. Like, these are all like incredible movies. And so Thief isn't incredible, I don't think, but it's a really, really like great movie, and it's a good starting point. Like, it's cool to see like how strong his like, you know, foundations were when he just started making. It's cool you keep doing these picks. What he just first
Catherine Bigelow and all these other ones you've done.
Yeah,
Derek.
And I even I've been talking to Ray and Jasmine. They're going through Miami Vice, and they say it's really good. I don't know, has anyone seen Miami Vice?
Like the Michael Mann movie?
The show?
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, the show. Well, I think Michael Mann did the show too.
He is involved in the show. He's like he didn't like direct it. He was.
I thought he was kind of the showrunner.
Oh yeah, he's the executive producer of it. So, yeah, probably the showrunner. I don't know what they called it back then.
And writer. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. For sure. Yeah. Well, Derek, great pick. I love that you take these chances of like, hey, we're all interested in this filmmaker, but none of us have seen this movie. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity to watch some of these older movies.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
I guess we'll move on to my movie next. I picked a movie called The Swimmer. The Swimmer came out in 1968, directed by Frank Perry, and it stars Burt Lancaster. I gotta say the tagline, guys. When you talk about The Swimmer, will you talk about yourself? So the plot description from Letterboxd says, Nettie Merle has been away for most of the summer. He reappears at a friend's pool. As they talk, someone notices that there are pools spanning the entire valley. He decides to jog from pool to pool to swim the whole valley. As he stops in each pool, his interactions tell his life story.
What's the swim called, Nick?
What was that?
What's the swim called in the movie? Never mind. I thought you were a big enough fan to know.
I forget what he calls it.
He just keeps saying...
He's going to play on his name or something.
He keeps saying, I'm going to swim home.
But, all right. He names it some creative name. He says a million times. But keep going.
Well, I'm blanking on that detail. I'm sorry. But... this movie, though, I don't know. I feel like this movie is an experience in some ways. It's super absurd and ridiculous right off the get-go. I mean, he basically... The plot summarizes it. Like, he comes basically out of the woods, and the movie starts of him just swimming in this pool. And he gets out of the pool, and he's greeted by these, like, friends. And they're like, Nettie, we haven't seen you in so long. Where have you been? He's like, I've been away. I've been busy, whatever. And they kind of start talking. He starts flirting with them, and everyone's having a good time. And he's flirting with the women, and then he kind of... he kind of just looks at the valley, and he kind of has this realization of, I can do this. I can swim home. And they're like, why would you do that? And he's like, it'll be great. Why won't I do it? It'll be wonderful. And so he just takes off, and he goes to the next pool, and he swims in that pool, and then he interacts with those people, and then he goes a little further, jumps to the next pool, and it's like that's the whole movie, is him like going from pool to pool and swimming and just interacting with these different people. And it starts out so funny, like it's such an absurd movie. It's like a satire in some ways, but it starts out almost dreamlike, and it's like, it's funny. It's like, are these people for real? What's happening? Is he for real? What's going on? And the lighting is like sparkly, and it's got this big orchestra music that like chugs it along. And as the movie goes along, there's this tone of something's wrong here, something's not right. It's very ominous, and it kind of picks up with every house he goes to, and his journey becomes worse and worse, and he starts getting beaten down. And there's a scene early on where he's racing a horse across a field, and it's very hilarious. It's like he's racing a horse. It's like exciting and hilarious. And then you contrast that with towards the end of his journey when he's like trying to cross a highway, and he's like shivering, and he's like trying to not get hit by a car, and he's kind of a wreck.
And then even like with the horse, he was like doing that horse jumping obstacle course thing with the girl in like slow motion. And then he like jumps over it in like super slow motion, then comes down and lands and injures his foot somehow. And like for the rest of the movie, he's kind of has a limp.
He really stuck to that.
He was.
But yeah, so I mean, I think this movie is like something special. I think that Burt Lancaster is such a strong presence on screen that like he owns this role, like this absurd role where he's like a wealthy man who is going on this quest to swim home. Like he makes it believable in this absurd world, but it's like kind of like a Heart of Darkness kind of type story where he's going further into like his psyche, and you start to tell that something is wrong in his life, and he's basically having a mental breakdown. And I think there's a lot to analyze with this movie. I think there's like you could pull out certain threads and kind of what's the filmmaker trying to say with this, but I think it's also like super stylized, and a part of this too is like it's a movie that most people haven't seen, and it's really funny, and I'm really curious what you guys think, because this is it's a little different. So I don't know, Derek, what do you think?
Nick, I loved it. It was such a weird, it was so weird. It was just, again, like these older movies continue to surprise me by like, I just never gave them the credit that they deserve for just being like what movies we look at as classics. Like back then, a lot of times seemed to be like these weird experimental like things. Like this movie is just so bizarre, and yet I can think of so many movies that they might not have been directly inspired by it, but there's like. It deals with, as he's moving across the valley, like different sections of like class and their depictions of him and like how they see him and how our view of him changes, as he's moving through these pools. And kind of like, I don't know, kind of section, each pool kind of tells its own little story. It's sort of weird way to tell the story, but it really does. And, it just made me think of movies like, it's a weird comparison, but like Snowpiercer, like movies that as it's like literally someone traveling from point to point, and at each stopping point, there's some sort of message about class in some way. It not always like overt and like in your face, but it's like subtly kind of telling a story, throughout the movie about that. And maybe Heart of Darkness. I don't know if that's like if that's like a book, or I've heard that term before. It is a book. Okay. So I don't know if it's kind of the same.
It's the book that Apocalypse Now is based on.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, also Apocalypse Now applies.
Oh, really? Oh, I haven't seen like, Apocalypse Now.
What I meant was just like that journey into darkness, like where like you're on this trek, but like it's getting worse and worse psychologically and physically as you go further along.
Right. Well, and that's also what was really interesting about the movie is as it goes on, you're realizing that this is like a psychological thing that's kind of unfolding in front of you, because you don't realize that he's like, you think he's kind of eccentric at the beginning, but a mostly normal guy that just really likes swimming, he's really into fitness or something, you know. But as it goes on, you start to realize he's like this delusional guy that's like kind of crazy because there's been some sort of trauma, and the way he like deals with people like starts to, it feel like, I don't know how much he changes throughout the movie, but you start to realize different things about him as it goes on, because I'm just thinking about like the girl that he must have had like some prior relationship with. This is kind of towards the end, that he's like almost like forcing himself on in the pool and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like he's not really treating her much differently than he treated anybody else throughout the movie. But by the time you get there, you start to realize that these people that are further away from that house all the way at the top of the hill, where all the rich people were very happy to be around it, by the time he gets down here, these people have a very different view of him and the way he acts towards people and who he is just in general, you know. And yeah,
slowly
I don't know.
Spirals out of control as goes house to house.
And by the time he gets to the public pool, it's like everyone there hates him, you know, and he's not at someone's private pool anymore. He's at the one, you know, these people can't afford their own pool. And now you're in like the, you know, the lowest class that's represented in the movie, and they all hate him. So clearly he has like he has a past that has affected these people, and everybody has an opinion. And it's just an interesting way to tell that character's story is through like pools. You know, it's weird, but it's like, it's cool. And they do it really well. Like they nailed it the whole way. And I think that's what makes this movie like really memorable and so unique, you know. Yeah, it's just such a tricky way to tell that story.
They're taking that super common journey and boiling it down to this, like the most simple concept of pool hopping home. Right. And yeah, like each pool is its individual scene. Like you said, I like by the second pool, I kind of noticed that was the direction it was going, and it didn't really stop. Like he meets a whole new cast of characters. You see a whole new part about his life and who he is. And then he just moves on to the next. And it's like a really experimental way and simplistic way to tell that kind of common of a storyline. You, Nick, you also kind of said this too. I had it written down, but man, fans of finding metaphors and symbolism in film would definitely eat this up. And I'm sure the writer of this film could go on about each scene and what it meant, like means to him, and what he was trying to represent within each pool that he was at. You know, I'm not a personal fan and digging too deep into that, but I can see why you really like that part of it, Nick, as well.
You mind if I give it a shot, Brandon?
You got all your theories, so when it's your turn,
you break down all the
away,
pools?
Sean.
No. I mean, I guess I
don't have much else. Go for it.
Yeah, I don't have like a too crazy of a theory of an interpretation of the movie, but I just like the idea of how this is like a guy who's like really good looking, and he's like really charming, and he's like so nice to everyone that he you know, especially like that first scene, everyone likes him. He likes everyone. He's flirting with the women. They like, or are at least receptive of the flirting. And, you know, as he kind of moves on from pool to pool, he like, it's kind of revealed how his whole life he has kind of indulged in this kind of almost absurd lifestyle of like weird adventures and like fake interactions and kind of, I guess, phoniness with other people. And like, especially, I think it was the second house or maybe the third house that he goes to. He like goes around and says hi to everyone. He's like, oh yeah, we'll meet up next week. Hey, how's it going? Oh, you give me a call and we'll set up a lunch. And, you know, it's just like with everyone, it was just like these fake phony interactions. And then the way he interacts with the women throughout the film, it's almost, you know, you kind of get the sense of this persona of the way he sees himself as like someone who can do all these things and get away with it. but then as the movie goes on, you really start to see that this guy is a terrible person, and like especially with the young girl that he kind of picks up and takes along. I thought that was a really good kind of metaphor for how young people can get swept up in this type of personality, and like how she was enthralled by him, and she was really into the kind of person that he was portraying, and kind of had a huge crush on him. But then, like, as the movie goes on, she starts to realize he's just a really big creep, and he's a terrible person, and he's just taking advantage of this situation that she is in, and so then she runs away, and then as he keeps going on, it's just pulling back the layers and like revealing that, oh, this guy is actually kind of just a really selfish piece of shit guy who just takes advantage of the people around him and uses
builds up
them,
a tab at the local bar.
Yeah,
never pays off.
Yeah, and like, and just like as you go on in life, and it's almost kind of like a metaphor for like as you go on in life, you can like have this persona for a short period of time, but eventually that's going to catch up to you. People are going to realize that you aren't that kind of person. You're, that you take advantage of people, and you don't, and then like by the end, he's just like, his life is kind of ruined, and or like the audience realizes that this life or this persona that he's been portraying is an absolute sham, and like his wife has left him, his daughters are aren't the people that he thinks they are, and his life is kind of ruined. So anyways, I thought there was a really clever kind of progression of the movie, and I actually think it's even a really modern statement that the movie is making. And even that tagline, what was it? It was did you write it down?
No, I said it. It's when you talk about the swimmer, will you talk about yourself?
Yeah, like I feel like that post Me Too is like a really powerful statement. Yeah. I think that's a really modern idea and thing that this movie was trying to say. But yeah, and then like I think Derek, you said this movie doesn't really have an arc. Like there's not really a character arc to speak of. There's not really any kind of story arc, but the arc of the movie is the arc of the audience, and the audience coming to understand who this person is. And I thought that was a really interesting.
Yeah, the reveal's pretty tragic,
concept
and big. I like just like Virginia Woolf, I watch these movies, like very close together, and the reveal at the end is just a really cool twist, I guess. And you're constantly learning more and more information about it until just the final scene, like in both films.
Yeah, you keep like waiting, like what's going to happen when he gets to his house.
The kid's really playing tennis. Like he keeps saying that, but there's no way. Like he's going crazy, and then you're like, yeah, he's definitely going crazy. But how crazy actually is it? The house is in shambles, and it's like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good movie.
There is I mentioned it earlier, there actually is an episode of Mad Men that's called The Swimmer Man. And it's kind of like directly inspired by this movie where Don Draper's swimming. I mean, he's just doing laps at a pool, but he's swimming, but he's kind of, while he's doing that, he's confronting different things that have happened in his past. And, that's more about, I mean, I think the show Mad Men is, it's clearly about Don Draper, but it's like whether or not Don Draper can change, and can he be like a worthwhile person for the world. And, this movie, I think, Sean, you like really I think you really nailed it with like, this movie is like Burt Lancaster's character could be anybody. We don't really know that much about him except that he's charismatic and charming, and he supposedly has money, but
such a fun, goofy smile.
Yeah, I mean, like I keep thinking about like if sleeping around made you sick, then that wouldn't be good for you.
I'd be in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, I'd be in a wheelchair. He like it has that smile. Oh, yeah. That wouldn't be good for me. It's like he's just so charismatic, but yeah, it strips it all away, and you really go on the journey.
99.99% of all organic materials.
Yeah.
Oh, that was from this movie? So you're quoting when I didn't know what you're talking about.
Oh, did you miss that line?
Some guy talking about that.
I just didn't remember.
They say it like 3 times over and over again.
Yeah, they asked him why he never got a pool, and it was part of that part where he was admiring someone's pool. Yeah, it's got the state-of-the-art filtration system.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys liked it. I figured Derek would like it. I was hoping Sean would like it. Brandon was the one where I was like, is he going to think this is funny? Is he going to is he just going to hate this experience? So
yeah, not at all.
It was really good.
Cool. Well, let's move on to our final movie. Sean, what was your pick?
I picked Yojimbo, Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo. Let's see, plot summary. Where am I here? So IMDb plot summary is: a crafty Ronin comes to a town divided by 2 criminal gangs and decides to play them against each other to free the town. It's directed by Akira Kurosawa, starring Toshiro Mifune and Ejiro Tono. Ooh, that was probably bad. But yeah. So yeah, again, I guess I picked this movie not only because I really love the movie, but also it's a very influential and important movie for cinema. It really kind of changed the landscape of cinema in American cinema and world cinema afterwards. And this is kind of the pivotal movie that inspired the kind of the Western genre to take on a more serious tone and a more dark and nihilistic tone, and really brought the anti-hero into the Western genre. I believe actually, Nick, the anti-hero had always kind of been a trope of the noir genre since like the 40s. Is that correct? I don't know.
Yeah. The noirs were around in the 40s. Yeah. That was like the big thing with noir was when it was like kind of highlighting some people that are not morally compromised, and it had more of a nihilistic outlook on the world. The movies were usually ending on sad notes or like just bleakness. But
yeah, so I guess this movie brought it into the Western genre and the samurai genre. And yeah, this is the movie that kind of kicked off Sergio Leone's career, because he made A Fistful of Dollars, as well as Clint Eastwood's career, with A Fistful of Dollars, which is a ripoff of this movie. I don't know what you would call it. It's an adaptation, except for it is this movie. It's almost exactly this movie. They don't credit
the movie really,
beat for beat. I don't think they credited this movie.
But it's really obvious.
I feel like that's the difference between an adaptation and a ripoff. Maybe I don't know if I don't know if I would use the word ripoff. Actually, I also haven't seen A Fistful of Dollars, but
So how many of you have seen Fistful of Dollars?
No.
No? Oh, okay, cool. Actually, that's really great because they're the exact same movie, and I also liked A Fistful of Dollars, but I believe it was Sergio Leone's first film, and it's Clint Eastwood's first leading role. So it's not quite as good. This is like a kind of peak Akira Kurosawa. So he's like spot on. Toshiro Mifune is great. But yeah, I guess like there's just, I don't even know where to start with how much I love this movie. Like the story is so good, and it's simple, but really interesting and engaging. The main character is so awesome and cool and badass, but like, totally has that. I don't want to say he has the Clint Eastwood vibe, but like, Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name is based on this character, and they totally have that like stoic, like just with a look or just by moving his shoulders can convey so much.
He gave Clint Eastwood his vibe.
And like the look of this movie is so great. It really did bring like that classic Western look into the samurai genre, and but like also pushed it forward with a more wide and broad aspect ratio and just a bigger, more cinematic feel to it, I think. Cinematography is really fantastic with like that particular shots of the two big groups of people slowly moving in on each other, and like there's so many great shots in this movie. I loved how like the main character Toshiro Mifune is a big question mark throughout the whole movie. You're not really sure what his motivations are or what his plan is or what he's even trying to accomplish in this town. And until like the end of the movie, which, kind of, you're left really questioning whether or not, his actions were justified or, and like, I also just love the action of this movie, like how quick and precise and deadly the action is like in the movie, and like how quickly Toshiro Mifune moves and like just takes people out and then just like, pulls back. And yeah, it's just, I also really liked how funny the movie was. Like I think it had a really great sense of humor, with its characters, and like the big kind of buffoon character, that was just a big doofus, was really funny. And like, I liked how the movie kind of picked on him.
The unibrow?
And then like the unibrow guy.
I was just thinking that exact word in my head. The unibrow.
Yeah. And
it wasn't just a unibrow, it connected to his sideburns as well.
It went all the way across his
all the way across his head.
Yeah. And then like the restaurant owner and the comedy between him and the casket maker, and it's just I just love this movie. I'm really excited to see what you guys thought of it, because I haven't seen any reviews or any ratings from you guys.
I felt when you guys didn't review Girls last month. But I felt like you were just reading what I typed, Sean, because now I'm just going to be restating everything.
Oh, I did.
No, it's not your fault. But this story was more playful than I thought. Like the comedy was like super, had this light comedic tone. It was like the unibrow guy, the way like the story ended up developing with the lead just kind of playing with these two sides. Like it wasn't all that like dark or serious for a while. But then also like pretty early on, you get these brutal like samurai fight sequences, which are just like so snappy and quick. Like, I guess that's how you hear samurais are supposed to fight. Just attack and then sheathe their sword and they're done. Their opponent's dead. And
like that first fight
three people,
left an
it's just
arm
brutal,
on the ground.
and it's like in the middle of this kind of like, fun, jolly opening. So the contrast was pretty interesting with that. And I also liked how the story kept developing. Like, you think he's going to just stick with one side and you feel like you knew what the story was going to be about these two gangs. But then all of a sudden he like climbs up on this tower and just sits there smirking as these two gangs like move back and forth and are too afraid to kill each other. And the story from there just like keeps developing in like a unique and fun way that I wasn't expecting. I haven't really seen a story of just like this overconfident guy just playing with these two like dumb villain sides. And then there was one aspect of the film, we don't have to go too deep into it, but I am curious as to why the town was like simplified so drastically to like, maybe this is just like the comedy aspect and it doesn't have to be that real, to this hyper unrealistic like gang battle between these two houses, which are literally just across the street from each other. Like they could just walk up and throw a match on the house at night and everyone would die. Like, which I guess they eventually end up realizing they can do and they burn it down in the end. But it's this like super unrealistic town of just these two gangs where they all live in the same house right next door to each other and decide to fight in the streets every once in a while. I wonder why they went with that like setting of these two gangs, as opposed to something more complex.
I mean, I never really thought about that. But I think it is a bigger town than you are thinking it is.
Like, I didn't think they were right across the street from each other. Like, that's kind of, I didn't think they were right across the street, but like maybe around the corner, a few blocks down.
Well, you
over
see
the
it.
hill.
They both come out of the house. They're like main house.
Yeah, they're like on the same street, but they're not.
They're at opposite ends of like a main
they're on
strip.
Like opposite ends. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, close enough. But I do think like, you can't, because the other side has hired a bunch of guys who are going to prevent you from doing that. And if you do that to them, then they're going to retaliate and they're going to come over and burn down your place, your brothel. And then you're going to have to eventually fight in the street.
So it's like kind of like a Cold War thing a little bit, where they could attack each other at any time or do sneak attacks during the night, but they're really just kind of waiting for each other to make a move.
They're both
which
too
is why
as well.
Yeah, which is why he's able to come in.
And they're just hiring these
sort through.
Yeah,
play both sides.
And, go ahead, Nick.
I was just gonna say, like, Sean, I every Akira Kurosawa film that I've seen, you were speaking to how playful and funny this is. Every Kurosawa film I've seen, I am surprised. I'm always surprised at how funny his movies are. Like, his characters are always so like developed. And then they always come across with these little funny things. It's like he's so good at creating these real people, and real people are funny. It's like the guy with the unibrow. It's like they're all the people in the town are fleshed out, and because of that, there are funny interactions that naturally happen. He's so good at that, and I like for me with Kurosawa, it's just like every Kurosawa film feels like a classic. Like, and I know some of them are bona fide classics, and they are classics, but like it's just like a blueprint of how films are supposed to be. And not like in a bare bones type of way of like, plot point A, plot point B. No, it's like the plot is there, and we've seen that plot structure in other movies after, years and years and years, but also how fleshed out and interesting everything is inside of it. Everything is so textured and so much detail with all the characters and everything that's happening. And, yeah, it just he's the best. He's just the best. I'm curious where you would put this one in your rankings for Kurosawa.
I think I have this at 3 or 4.
Okay. Because I had it a little bit lower, and I don't even necessarily have a reason why. I had it number 6 out of 9.
No.
So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have it at 4.
Okay. But I don't know. I feel like his top movies are just like, they're all classics. They're all like wonderful examples of perfect filmmaking. I did rate this one. I gave it 4.5 on Letterboxd. So I thought I thought it was great.
I'm really glad that you've picked multiple Kurosawa movies, because I don't know when I would have like ventured into his filmography, but like both these movies, it's clear like they're very important films. And there's like I remember a frame in High and Low that I really like thought when I saw it, like if you could pause it right here, like take that frame out and like put it on a wall, and it would be like a work of art. And this movie
said that
also
about the
had,
drunken alley heroin
yeah,
scene.
yeah. And like this movie like kind of felt the same way. Like there's just so many. God, he's so good at like crafting like interesting and like deep. Like by deep, I mean like there's a lot of depth, like distance wise, like in his shots and stuff. Like that shot when they're burning down the house. Like first of all, it looks like they're
like close up of the guy's face.
And they're like actually in a street, like burning down a place, and there's actually people like running out and like grabbing like stuff to add to a real fire that is like, and it's just crazy how complex that looks and how great it like shows on camera, God, I can't wait to like dive deeper into some of his other movies. But I didn't realize how I had heard that Fistful of Dollars was very inspired by this, but I didn't realize like how many Western tropes like come from like specifically just in this movie. There's many things that I like, and I haven't even dove that far into a Western, even the Western genre, just like some of the most popular ones I've seen. And like some of the big things that like immediately brought me back to like you're watching a Western was like when the gang, like at the beginning, is kind of walking down the street, and the old guy's kind of letting the samurai like in on like who people are and stuff. And there's literally, everyone's off the street. Everyone's like in their doors with all the, all their doors locked, and they're peeking through blinds and stuff. And that's a Western trope that you see in Western movies too, and
yeah,
it was just interesting to see like those in this completely different setting, but samurai. Like how, right. But how clearly they've evolved from that. It's just, it's always cool to see that. You're like, oh my God, like I've seen that so many times, and this is where it came from. That's so cool. Yeah.
And even like that final shootout, quote unquote shootout at the end of this movie, where it's just like really slow, just slowly walking towards each other and just, going from those incredible wide shots to the close-ups, and then how quickly it all unravels, and how, normally it would be they draw their guns and 2 shots and the whole, the movie's over. But yeah.
I do a scene shout out. I think my favorite scene was when he kills the 6 people that are guarding the woman in the house outside of town, and saves that family, and then also goes back in just to like absolutely wreck the whole house, and like the beans pouring down from the ceiling. Like it's just so visually like well staged and thought out. That scene was really great.
Brandon, I agree. That's my favorite
I love
scene
how
too.
like
that's my favorite scene too, easily.
Yeah, I love how he like goes in there and takes everyone out with such precision, and then he has to go back in and
as
fake
if
it
crappy fighters were there,
as if as if someone less experienced came in there, and
I think that complements back, or that goes hand in hand with what Nick was saying about just like how much thought is put into like everything in the movie. And I think my 2 favorite things about the movie that were really surprising, just stood out to me. The first thing was the gore. I couldn't believe that this movie was like gory. I was like, what? When is this movie?
At times.
When did this come out? Yeah. And like how they kind of had to film it creatively. Like when the guy's like laying on the ground bleeding out, like it's a dark ground, and so they had to like, I don't know if they put like a light in a certain spot or if they filmed at the right angle so that you could see that there's blood coming out of him. But, blood, you wouldn't be able to normally just see it on a dark ground if it's black and white. So they made sure the blood was reflecting off the sun or the moon or whatever, whatever they put there, so you could see all the blood trickling out.
Made sure there was a flood of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It pours out.
So
but the other thing that I really liked, and this is story-wise, is just how, like, it's just such a satisfying way for the story to progress, which is he's, from my perspective, I thought he was just trying to get the most money out of these people that he put him, he was not even worried about what they were going to do to him at all. And he like knows he's like intellectually so much smarter than them, and he's so much more powerful than them. They have no chance. And he's like playing them, getting that money is just like going up, 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 up. And then in the end, they kind of outsmart him. Well, not in the very end, but they kind of turn it on his head, and they do get the best of him. And it was just such a satisfying way for that story to go, because it's like, you're kind of on his side because you're like, yeah, these guys are, they're all criminals. So you're like, yeah, get as much money as you can out of him. But, as he's like making their lives worse and worse and worse, and then it gets to a point where they kind of just turn it on him, and you're like, hey, I mean, you kind of had it coming. Like, you kind of feel good for them for half a minute there. And it's just I was really happy with how that story progressed and how complex it was, and that it wasn't like a simple solution or anything. Like it was just, that was cool.
I love how this movie opens. I guess I just love the opening of this movie and the ending of this movie. How, like, I mean, first of all, he's just like walking down a road or, and then he's like comes to a three-way split, and he just throws a stick in the air, and that's the way I'm going. That's like how he kind of comes along
very like
onto
fairy
this
tale kind of
adventure.
Like,
yeah.
Keeps
like,
moving along town to town.
just random chance. And then like, so also I will say that there is a sequel to this movie. So it's called Sanjuro, which is kind of in a similar vein to the Dollars, or in a similar vein to The Man with No Name, in that it's just like this guy who goes from place to place, wanders from place to place, getting into
Kurosawa
adventures
too.
And unrelated. Yeah, Kurosawa.
Literally
Kurosawa.
a sequel.
Yeah, it's a sequel called Sanjuro.
Yeah, if you look at Letterboxd, it has a very similar
definitely
cover. I mean, yeah, it's like the covers look very, very identical.
Is there a trilogy?
Yeah.
Just two? Okay.
No. At least not one that Kurosawa directed. But yeah, so then like, anyways, back to what I was saying. So he goes down this road, and he happens upon this story where it's, this young kid who tells his parents that he doesn't want to do the work, and he wants to go into town and join this gang and fight with these guys. And then like the end of the movie, he goes, Toshiro Mifune goes back into town, and they have that last standoff where he kills everyone, and then that same kid is there, and he tells that kicks him and tells him to run home to his mom or something, or go home to his mom.
Yeah, because he screams out, "Mommy!"
Yeah, and so then he's like, "All right, my work here is done," and he's just out. Like, I don't know. I just love that idea of just he just comes in, kills everyone in the town, and then he's just, all right, now this town is safe. Now this town is
two
good.
People left in the whole town.
Yeah, and then he just bounces. Yeah, it's just it's so cool.
Good pick.
Yeah, great pick, Sean. Love it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that piece of film history and a great movie.
Yeah.
So I think we need to wrap up the episode. We've been going long enough, and real quick, I want to tell the audience and go over with you guys what we're going to do for the next episode. So instead of each one of us making a pick like we have been doing the last 3 or 4 months, we're going to keep that alive on some degree. We're going to start a new segment called Film Club, where every month going forward, each one of us, one at a time, is going to pick a movie. So we'll rotate month to month to month. So presumably, if we keep this going, like every year, each of us would get 3 picks. Like it would be we would take turns and just do different picks, and it could be a movie of any time period. But for the bulk of the episode next month, we're going to go back to 2020 movies. So we're going to bring back a preview section at the end of the episode, and each one of us is going to do a little bit of research and figure out a movie that's going to be available to watch for anyone in 2020. And it could be a movie that we've already talked about, or it could be a movie that came out months and months ago. It could be any movie, but I know personally I have like a long list of indies that or smaller movies or whatever movies that I might have missed that like I just haven't gone around to watch again. This is kind of a way to give ourselves a little motivation to start going back to 2020 movies, because it certainly seems like this pandemic's going to keep going, and who knows when we're going to be able to actually get into the movie theater. So, first of all, let's go around, and each of us has a pick for what movie they're going to watch, for which 2020 movie. Also, I guess it should be said that we're not forcing each other to watch the 2020 movie, but if it's your pick, then you do have to watch it. And it is encouraged to watch everyone else's 2020 movie,
sure,
but
we'll
it's
all
not.
mostly get around to it.
Yeah.
It's not required. So, Sean, what movie are you gonna watch from 2020?
I'm going to watch Weathering with You. I know it's not. It actually came out in 2019. Brandon watched it in December, I believe. But yeah, it's been extremely difficult to actually watch this movie, and I'm not even 100% sure it's going to be out by next month, but it's supposed to be out on Amazon on August 4th.
It looks.
So
I looked it up too. I think that looks pretty definite. It should be available to stream.
Okay, cool.
You might have to pay for it, but
Okay,
why are you excited about this movie, Sean?
So this is from the same director as so it's an anime, Japanese anime from the director of Your Name, which I really loved. It's Makoto Shinkai is director. And I just really liked Your Name, and I've heard a lot of really good things about this movie, and I'm really excited to see it, and really excited to finally be able to see it. So
I think that definitely counts as a 2020 movie, because I remember it coming to Washington in March, and it was only available at a small independent theater in Bainbridge Island.
Oh, that's right. And, I remember that.
And I don't think it ever really came to Seattle. So I'm kind of like, hey, for us, it's 2020 because we don't live in New York or LA. It wasn't available. And or Japan. Mm-hmm. And so, hey, we finally got a chance to watch it in 2020. So
good pick.
Great pick, Sean. Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, I'll even rewatch that again too, Sean. But so the movie I'm picking, which is also a foreign film. It's Chilean. This director, Pablo Larraín, just did one of my favorite films several years back called Victoria, and I've seen a couple others of his. He has a really great style.
He directed Victoria?
Yes.
Brandon, that's
like
not
the Victoria that me and you like?
I don't think that's right, Brandon.
What?
I don't think he directed Victoria.
Oh, wrong title. Jackie. Different female single name, first name title. I knew the movie in my head. I just said the wrong name. He directed the American film Jackie, but he's a Chilean director. He now put out his new Chilean film called Emma, which looks really great, has great reviews. And I believe it came out streaming in June, though, Nick, you're kind of scaring me now. You're saying it might not be. Maybe they retracted it. I'll look it up, but I'll think of a backup if it's actually not out.
The thing is, like, I don't know if I should say this on air, but I have a pirated copy. I have a pirated copy of this movie. So, like, I think it came out and I was able to, like, find a copy of it. But, like, I don't know if it's actually, like, available. It's
out in the UK. Doesn't look like it's available in the US.
I literally was going to stream it with friends in June in Fire Island, and we ended up not doing it. But I researched it and remembered knowing it was coming out. But anyways, I'll think of something else later if it's not. Or we can use your pirated copy. But, yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I hope it's available. I feel like you should find a backup if it's not, just for the listeners at home, so they could listen along.
It looks like it's on Mubi.
Oh, Mubi. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Get a free trial for Mubi, and you can watch it. Okay, Derek, what about you?
Okay, I'm gonna choose a kind of random movie, but it's getting good reviews, and I'll probably watch it regardless. So maybe we can all watch it. It's a horror movie called Relic. I've been seeing a lot of like videos online and stuff about it. It's directed by Natalie Erica James. Doesn't look like she has anything of note that I've heard of before, but it's getting really good reviews, and it's available to stream. And it's probably a movie that would have been in theaters was there not a pandemic. So let's watch it.
Yeah, I think this movie was playing at a bunch of drive-ins for a little while because it was supposed to be released in theaters. But I think it was one of those. But yeah, sweet, Derek. Good pick. I'm definitely, good reviews. I had a friend who watched it. He's a pretty tough star giver on Letterboxd, and he gave it 4 stars. So
nice. It looks like it's available pretty much anywhere you rent movies. So
nice. Yeah. Cool. So I picked First Cow, which is the new Kelly Reinhardt movie. She's known for making small independent movies that are really quiet, where not a lot happens, and characters are just kind of sad, but maybe they do something of importance. She did Wendy and Lucy, which was that's like my favorite Kelly Reinhardt movie. She actually did a movie that Sean worked on, which was one of her more action-packed movies. That one actually had a little bit of a plot, but anyway, I've been really excited about First Cow. This is getting great reviews. It's supposed to be one of her best movies. I literally was like making plans to go see it at a movie theater, and then the movie theaters got shut down the next week. So it was supposed to come out in March, and then this month it came out on Amazon where you could buy it, and now starting in August you can buy it and stream it. So I'm gonna rent it. I mean, you can buy it or rent it, and so I'll rent it this month, and I'm really excited about it. So it's called First Cow. It's supposed to be a really nice movie.
Cool.
So just to go over our film club segment, our first member who's going to do the first pick is going to be Sean. So Sean, what is going to be the movie that we are forced to watch from history over the month of August?
Oh man, I don't know if I've decided yet.
You have to.
I know I have to. Do I want to go along with the theme that I've been doing so far, or do I want to?
His theme has been directors or themes that he's personally worked on.
Yeah, no, I think I'll go along with my theme. My movie is going to be The Trouble with Harry.
Wow. Oh, interesting choice, Sean. Nice.
Alfred Hitchcock's The Trouble with Harry.
Cool.
It is a bizarre gallows humor comedy directed by Alfred Hitchcock about a small New England town where someone in the town is murdered, and just about everyone in the town has a reason to think that they're the one who murdered this guy. And so everyone in town is trying to cover up this murder without knowing that everyone else also thinks that they murdered him.
All right. That sounds great.
Great. You told me about this movie years ago, and I put my watch list, and I've been very excited to watch it. So great pick, Sean. I'm really excited about that.
It's a very different, bizarre Alfred Hitchcock film. So
sweet.
Far out. Well, cool. I think that wraps it up for our next episode. So, again, next episode, we're going to be talking about 2020 movies and The Trouble with Harry. So, thanks for listening to us and talk about movies. And, I hope that all of you are doing well and have some movies to watch. So, take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.